Video games have almost always been about telling a story. And the beauty of storytelling in video games comes from the ability to immerse yourself within the world. Become a player and make decisions that affect the ending of the plotline. It's the ability to live through the story at your own pace. The ability to explore and learn the world around you on your own that sets apart the gaming industry from other forms of entertainment, making it special. But what happens when you take away the element of immersion and try to adapt a video game into a standalone show? Well, if you do it right. Oh yeah, and this show, it's pretty good. Probably the best one out of the three. Yeah. Okay, but why do we even like shows about games? Well, the biggest reason is probably because when you watch a show like Edgerunners or Fallout, you see something you already recognize from the game and think to yourself, wait, I've
played these games before! I said I played these games before!
But unfortunately, that wow factor itself isn't enough to make a show good. With the finale of Arcane finally coming out recently, I thought I'd delve into Arcane, Edgerunners, and Fallout to discuss why these in particular are such great adaptations. With enough budget, it's not a difficult task to create a show based on a pre-existing universe, but creating something that's truly authentic to the world and pays homage to the game in a manner that's more profound than dropping a few references here and there isn't something we see often. So, what is it that makes these three so special? First, let's talk about the characters in these shows. If I had a penny for every time a character in Arcane said the words League of Legends, I'd have no pennies because, oh,
what are
wait.
we? Some kind of League of Legends?
Okay, I'd have 1 penny, but the point is that although Arcane is canon to League of Legends, the story of Arcane has nothing to do with this. And that's great because none of us would want a show that desperately tries to integrate mechanics of the game and all that boring stuff everybody knows into the story. Arcane has nothing to do with the actual game. It's a story that stands on its own feet. Same with Cyberpunk. Edgerunners takes place in Night City but has nothing to do with V and Johnny Silverhand. David Martinez and his gang coexist in the same universe at the same time as the player and even fight the same enemies but never cross paths. That's what makes it seem so immersive. Fallout's cast is completely brand new, there's absolutely no reference to any of the games, you get the point. Adapting a story everyone's familiar with can work if done well, but breathing new air into the universe of the game, breaking rules and adding new ones is what makes an adaptation great. So, with Arcane for example, Fortis delivers a show which not only incorporates already known information, but also adds new characters into the story, and that's the first part of getting it right. A big part of making the setting of a story feel authentic is creating a great cast of background characters that aren't just filler. They don't just give space to the real big heroes to have their moments. These are characters that ground the story and give every known hero context, vulnerability, and depth. I'm talking about characters like Benzo, Sevika, Shula the female enforcer, hell, even Loris. He didn't do anything, but he was just kinda chill. These characters have a flair of their own, their designs aren't generic or boring, and their actions have great consequences on the main plotline. For a conventional TV show or film, this is a bit of a duh moment. How can you not have a solid cast of side characters? But for some reason, the amount of video game adaptations that get this right is near to none. Now over to Fallout. The actual cast of this show is actually not big at all. When I was looking for side characters in Fallout to compare with Arcane, I realized there are none. Unless you count this guy, that guy, and maybe these three. But their roles in the story have been given so little light and so little screen time that you probably won't even remember them when you finish the show. And this is partly due to the fact that Fallout spends its entire runtime exploring the main cast and building their individual stories. Compared to Arcane and Edgerunners, Fallout is a far more patient show. It doesn't throw fancy visuals and action at the screen every 5 minutes. Instead, Fallout takes its time to slowly unravel its world, slowly develop nuance to the characters. Fallout only has a few pawns to work with, but it places every piece in the right spot at the right time, and that's what makes it great. For example, Fallout's first episode really focuses on establishing our 3 protagonists, and the Ghoul by far has my favorite introduction. At the start of the episode, we see the ending of the world through Howard's perspective. He's made to look like a good guy with a good soul, just working with his daughter. This introduction shows his caring and loving, human self before everything explodes, and then he seemingly disappears for the rest of the episode. The actual story of Fallout takes place far in the future, so you'd think that Howard is long gone, but at the end, we're introduced to the Ghoul, who has strikingly familiar facial features. Immediately we start asking questions like, whoa, how has he survived 200 years? What happened to him? Why is he like evil now? It's an incredible contrast to how Howard was introduced in the beginning and a super effective way to establish his role as the antagonist. We get to see the before and after, his good side and his bad side, but everything in between is a mystery. So whether you're working with a big cast or a small cast, the important thing is to really hone in on what the show needs. If Fallout had its smaller cast of characters and was just another action-packed show with a bunch of fighting and not much development, it'd be boring. If Arcane with its big cast and multiple plotlines spent too much time focusing on characters, it would really drag. But Cyberpunk Edgerunners, in my opinion, has truly the best of both worlds when it comes to this comparison. This show runs for 10 episodes, each 25 minutes in length. That's only 4 hours of total runtime in comparison to Fallout's 7.5 hours and Arcane's combined 12 hours of runtime. So how on earth is Edgerunners able to find a balance? Cyberpunk is an inherently action-packed genre, but Edgerunners somehow manages to have both great action and an equally astonishing balance of slow and intimate scenes that add nuance. And I think it really comes down to the swing action seen in Edgerunners' writing. Not one out of the 10 episodes slows down or becomes stale because there's a continuous cycle of high-octane action and meaningful moments between the characters, one right after another. It's like a wombo combo of everything the viewer wants without breaks from start to finish. In the span of a few minutes, we can go from Lucy sharing her dreams with David and how he's the only person she has ever shared them with, to David hanging upside down held by Maine and his gang because Lucy was actually just turning him in. Edgerunners teaches you that you can't just trust any single moment. It keeps you nervous and ready for something unexpected to happen. But when a real slow moment does come, and there are no guns or betrayals or deals being made, when two characters simply talk from their hearts, it makes you appreciate it even more. So by now it may have struck you as obvious, but in case it hasn't, the best video game adaptations almost never focus on adapting the game, but rather, they focus on adapting the universe. It's about adapting the world and bringing something new into it, whilst maintaining all the small things that make the experience of playing a game special. And part of that lies in how unique the production of a show is, which is something I'm yet to talk about, of course. The visuals in all three of these shows excel like no other, and I can't help but feel like the genre of each show best represents what kind of show it is. Edgerunners being an anime allows for freedom in violent and colorful fight sequences. Arcane being a 3D animated series elevates that and allows for more detailed and handcrafted facial expressions, whilst Fallout being a full-on live action gives it that realistic and gritty look. Individuality and creative expression shines a lot, specifically in Arcane, which makes a separate effort to create these seamless music transitions, and although I would have preferred to not have any more Imagine Dragons in this show, the sequences we get to see this season are just so much fun. I love the hand-painted, textured look that Fortiche applies to a three-dimensional world. It's something that's truly never been done before, and if it has, then never to this level. These shows really push themselves to embrace the aesthetics of their games. I mean, look at Fallout. This show barely has any CGI. The T-60 power armor is a real suit, but it's made to look so heavy and so realistic. The dedication the Fallout team has to create real sets and use as little CGI as possible really carries over and makes this show feel much more believable and cinematic than other shows. There's never a moment in Fallout where the show tries to convince you that it looks good. It just does look good at all times, regardless of the scene. I've already mentioned the music in Arcane, and Fallout stands its ground by filling the entire soundtrack with post-war jazz and vintage pop, something that is so rare to see in modern adaptations, most of which have soulless sound design that we've all heard before. But of course, I left my favorite for last. There's some sort of magic about depicting such a hostile and yet comforting universe like Cyberpunk. Studio Trigger does the game justice by making the anime just as colorful, just as dense and chaotic as the world of the game itself. And maybe this is a personal thing because I already love the aesthetics of Cyberpunk. Seeing this anime air for the first time was like no other. The fragility of human life, the fleetingness of emotions and experiences that we're all drowning in, and the importance of staying human are all portrayed perfectly in this show, with the help of stunning animation and a touching soundtrack. Arcane may be the most popular, and Fallout may be the most well written, but Edgerunners does something for me that the other two don't. And regardless of that, all three adaptations allow us as viewers to experience the feelings and emotions we all had when we tried these games for the first time, but now in a different light. This isn't a retelling of a story, it's not a sellout for fan service. These adaptations had us, the audience, at heart from start to finish, and I only wish for more adaptations like this to come out in the future. With that, I'd like to thank you for watching this video. If there's anything you think I missed, or if you would like to chat about anything, leave it down in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe to stick around for more stuff, and I'll see you there.